Survival games are getting bigger and bigger by the year, but that does not mean that they're all good. Now, survival games in general kind of have a reputation for being rather buggy and incomplete, but there are so many great ones to choose from out there, and we are going to find them today on Chaos Gaming. Welcome to the page. Do me a favor, drop a like. Make sure you have those notifications turned on. Today, we're going to look over some of the best survival games of all time. This is a hard list to put together. You let me know in the comments which of these is your favorite. Let's start off with Subnautica. Little submarine action. Yeah, a survival game that people really did not expect to be so popular, but it exploded. That's usually how it goes, too. Released in late 2014, Subnautica is a game where you crash land on this strange ocean planet, and you have to collect resources to repair your ship, keep yourself alive. You have to survive, people! Now, compared to other recent survival games, Subnautica has a lot of unique elements. Single player only, has an actual story with an actual ending, and it doesn't have any zombies in it, which is weirdly rare for survival games. It really is. The world of Subnautica is gorgeous. You can lose yourself in the atmosphere for hours upon hours, and eventually, you'll have everything you need to repair your ship and leave the planet. But you may not want to do that because you've built so much there. You may want to live there forever. Then once you leave, you can go back in and play other gameplay modes and see if you can beat the elements a second time. I know it has DLC as well. It's great. If you want a good single-player survival game, go check it out. Next up, a lot of these you may not have heard of. Unturned. Now, despite looking like complete doo-doo, okay, hear me out. Unturned is one of the most popular survival games on Steam. It was even popular enough to get ports to the PS4, Xbox One, and the Series X. I would assume the PS5 version is probably in the works. Developed and published by a small indie team called Smartly Dressed Games, it's a cool name, Unturned is a multiplayer zombie survival game with multiple game modes. It lets you test your luck. Now, like many other survival games, you have to venture around the map, figure out the best game plan, all while just making snap decisions about whether or not you should trust the players you encounter along the way. It's pretty cool. You can probably tell by the footage, it basically looks like a Minecraft mod, but the gameplay is extremely addicting, and it's remained one of the most popular indie games on PC for 5 years, according to the Steam charts. Unturned is the 35th most played game in the entire platform, with hundreds of thousands of players logging in every day. Plus, the best part of it, it's free. No worries. Next up, DayZ. Now, I know, DayZ has kind of a mixed reputation. It's still an extremely popular game, so it's clearly doing something right. Started off as a mod, Arma 2, then it got its own standalone, early access game, released in 2013. Progress was rather slow, but it kept a healthy player base throughout its whole time in early access and since has been ported to the PS4 and Xbox One. Now, in this game, you venture around the open world and you try to find supplies for weapons, nutrition, shelter, first aid in the middle of a giant, you guessed it, zombie apocalypse. Sometimes you run into other players. You'll have to make a judgment call. Do you trust them? Do you not? After all, if you work together, you have a much better chance at surviving the undead onslaught. But if you kill the other human players, you can also take all their stuff and prevent the possibility of them betraying you later. It's kind of known for its bugs and lack of stability with its game design, but it was very influential in the survival genre. It's still one of the most played games on Steam, so if you've never tried it, give it a shot. Next up, and I've played this one, The Forest. It's been on the market for a few years now, and it's been extremely up and down, although it's currently at a lifelong high point term of player counts. Plays an ordinary person who crash lands on a strange island filled with cannibal mutants. Now, as opposed to most other games on this list, The Forest is a much more horror-focused experience, and the gameplay is extremely detailed, almost to the point of being a simulator as opposed to a normal survival game. Those are different things. The Forest first hit early access in 2014, then it got an official 1.0 release in 2018. Since then, it's grown to be one of the most popular and best-reviewed survival games on both the PC and the PS4. It currently sits with a 94% approval rating on Steam. Plus, it has VR support. If you really want to go down that rabbit hole, go for it. At number 6, no shocker here, Minecraft Survival Mode. Obviously, one of the most influential games on the genre. We had to put it on the list. I mean, it got its 1.0 release 10 years ago. Exploded. You already know. It gained traction because all the crazy things you could do and make, and it's just addicting. It's one of the main ways you play. Survival. You drop into the world, you survive as long as you can, craft your tools, your shelter, all that good stuff. Go explore. Defeat the Ender Dragon. The possibilities are endless. I don't really have anything else to say. It's Minecraft. We already know. Here's one maybe you don't know about. 7 Days to Die. Another survival horror game. Now, it's a survival game developed and published by a small team called the Fun Pimps, best name so far today. and it's been extremely popular since it dropped in 2013. You are thrust into the remains of a nuclear apocalypse. You have to search the map to find resources to not only keep yourself alive, but also fend off the countless zombie hordes that have a result of the fallout. Okay, we've seen this before. Initially, the game was going to have a much more elaborate story, but the developers have since seemingly given up on that. Now they're just more concerned about perfecting the gameplay, which I'm okay with that. It's really good. Critics reviewed the game extremely poorly, but gamers love it. It's sitting with an 86% approval rating on Steam, and it's in the top 50 most played on the platform, which, trust me, if you're in the top 50 on Steam, you're doing something right. Next up, Don't Starve Together. Woo! It's a multiplayer version of Don't Starve, which was already a fantastic single-player survival game. Now, Don't Starve Together has you and up to 5 friends dropping into the world of Don't Starve. Okay, you explore a supernatural world, try to understand it, and keep it from consuming you. You have to manage your physical survival as well as your mental health. And there's a lot of strange monsters that will try everything they can to take you down, and if your health hits 0, it's game over. You have to start all over again. Kind of a permadeath, if you will. Don't Starve is a great single-player experience, but Don't Starve Together makes it even more intense and even more immersive, as you and your buddies now have to work together to help keep everybody in one piece. 96% approval rating on Steam. It's hard not to call this game one of the best survival experiences on the market right now. This next one you've probably heard of recently because it is blowing up. Valheim. Here we go. Released in 2021, it's dominating, sitting at number 2 on Steam, 96% approval rating. It's a Viking survival game. You drop an open world, either alone or with some friends, and you have to best the elements in order to find food, shelter, weapons, battle various creatures. You guys know the drill. Come on. Despite only being on the market for a few weeks, it sold 2 million copies, making it one of the biggest surprise hits of the decade. It's showing no signs of slowing down. Valheim is an excellent game, and it's a great twist on the survival genre, so if you're looking for something a little fresh, this is probably going to do it for you. At number 2, Ark Survival Evolved. One of the most famous survival games. I mean, it hit access in 2015, got its 1.0 release 2 years later on both the PC and the console. The objective is simple. Random person dropped on a strange island filled with dinosaurs, and then you have to figure out what the heck to do next. Now, throughout your journey, you will find plenty of new resources, weapons, and other players who will either welcome you into the group, or they'll kill you for your gear. Ark is basically your standard multiplayer survival game with dinosaurs instead of zombies, and honestly, that's more than enough to keep it interesting. Plus, Ark's gameplay mechanics are some of the best in the genre. You will often lose yourself just in taking in the gorgeous scenery. Ark 2 was actually recently announced, which is sure to be a hit once it finally drops, but the first Ark is a great experience, and it is super in-depth, and that's not even talking about getting into mods. That's a whole nother world. And at number 1 today, Rust. Yep, one of the most popular survival games of all time. Released back in 2013, early access remained one of the biggest games on Steam. Developed and published by Facepunch Studios, it was designed to basically be a clone of DayZ, but with more detailed crafting and no zombies. Instead, you can craft weapons and shelters in order to make your better suited off stuff. I mean, you have to face off against bears, wolves, other real-world threats, all that good stuff. It also has heavy PvP aspects to it, which makes it more addicting because of how personal the experience is and how much you have to work to get your gear. After all, if you run around and find stuff, you're not going to care nearly as much as if you were the one crafting every piece of stuff you had from random scraps around the map. It's one of the top 10 most played games on Steam, and while console ports have been planned for a long time, we don't know if they're coming. But with how popular the game is on PC, I wouldn't be shocked at all if a port came to Xbox Series X and PS5 within the next year or so. And there you have it. Those are the best survival games of all time. Let me know where you agree and disagree, and I'll see you soon.